In a dark apartment, someone keeps knocking on the door. Hana goes to check it out and hears a growling noise, so she takes her gun and waits. Suddenly a monster breaks the door and gets ready to attack, but Hana quickly shoots it down. Soon more monsters appear inside the apartment and they get shot down too with perfect aim from Hana. She doesn't get scared either when even more beasts appear in the corridor and burst inside. Hana continues to shoot without hesitation, quickly reloading the gun when she runs out of bullets. The monsters keep on going and corner her on her own bed, where she suddenly asks things to stop. It turns out this is a video game and she's noticed a glitched monster, so she informs the creator. Before hanging up, the creator asks her to join the tournament this year, but she turns the offer down because she knows she has no chance of winning. Hana works as a professional video game player and tester, which doesn't always pay well. However, it's the perfect job for her because she suffers from agoraphobia, meaning she's deeply afraid of leaving her home. This is why her door has tons of locks and even an electronic one with a password. After spending the whole day testing that virtual reality game, she decides to comfort herself by playing Tetris on her old Game Boy. Sometime later, the mailman comes with a package and asks for her signature. Hana has to ask him to leave the package and the device in front of the door and hide, which the mailman does after some hesitation. Then Hana opens the door just enough to peek out and sign on the device. At that moment a little girl appears in the corridor and asks why Hana is scared. She also asks to enter the apartment, which Hana turns down. The mailman hears her from the stairs and asks her to hurry up, so Hana takes her package and goes back inside, noticing that the little girl is gone. The interaction has triggered her anxiety, so Hana locks the door as fast as possible before having a breakdown. When she's feeling better, Hana calls a friend to tell her she got early access to the latest gaming controller and invites her to play. While waiting, Hana exercises to keep her body in shape since she can't go out. Eventually her friend arrives and knows she must text Hana instead of knocking. Hana unlocks the door and hides, allowing Jen to come in and close the door without triggering a panic attack. After Jen drops the bags with groceries she's bought for Hana, they open the package together and find a very strange looking headband with the name Omnia but no instructions. As soon as Hana presses the button, the device automatically connects itself to her computer and opens its own software. Hana logs in with the device number and an AI voice welcomes her to Omnia, asking her to put on the headband. Once Hana does that, the AI explains the devices can read, measure, and decode characteristic patterns in her brain. The images she sees on the screen are a real-time recording of her brain activity and it can control any other device or software, so when it comes to gaming, her reaction time will be reduced to 0. First they need to calibrate it, so Hana starts working on the exercises while Jen cooks a bunch of meals that will keep Hana fed for a few days. The first exercise is about typing, so Hana has to press the letter that appears on the screen. She starts by using her fingers normally, but eventually the machine learns how she thinks and buttons aren't needed anymore. Now Hana can type words on the screen by just thinking them. Hana gets so obsessed with it that she doesn't even touch the food. At that moment the landlord knocks on the door asking for the rent money, so Jen has to tell him to go away since Hana didn't even hear the knock. Then Jen announces she must leave and Hana finally gets off the chair to get the door, but the exercise on the screen continues to be filled. When the computer changes to the second exercise, the power goes out for a few seconds before coming back to normal. Hana goes back to the calibration, which this time asks her to use the mouse. For the next several hours, Hana does nothing but work on calibrating the device, which starts asking to test other things like headphones and microphone. Whenever she gets sleepy, she drinks tons of energy drinks to stay awake. This causes the AI to point out her reaction time is slowing and tells her to rest. Hana goes to sleep, yet the device keeps on reading her brain patterns and the speaker starts playing lots of static noises in the apartment. A strange vision of a child's hand and a bird in a cage haunt Hana's dreams. When Hana wakes up, she's horrified to discover her gums are bleeding. As she stares in the mirror, the little girl from yesterday knocks on her door and asks her to play with her because there aren't other kids in the building. Hana explains she can't and shares stories of her childhood. When she was a child, her mother wouldn't let her out so she had to learn how to play alone. This is why she became a fan of video games and addicted to Tetris. She offers to lend Tetris to the girl, but she isn't answering anymore. The conversation has made Hana nostalgic, so she searches for an old box in her closet and starts looking at childhood pictures, crying as she remembers playing with her dad under the rain. She still has the ball from those days and when Jen visits again, they play with it as part of the device calibration since the next exercise is about reflexes and depth perception. Jen gets bored and throws the ball on the bed while Hana mentions music, causing the device to play some songs in the speakers. The girls then have fun dancing together. Moments later, the next exercise asks for pain. Jen refuses to help and leaves. Using a tool, Hana ends up doing it herself. Thankfully just a little line is enough, and this finally finishes the calibration process. The AI explains the device will continue to learn the more Hana uses it. Afterward Hana takes care of her wound and finally eats something before grabbing a bunch of energy drink cans and going back to the computer. She starts playing the game normally but soon she stops using her hands, controlling everything with just her mind, thanks to the device. Just as promised, her reaction time is flawless and she easily wins every match. Meanwhile in her room, the bedsheets are moving and a mysterious hand grabs the ball. Hana hears a noise and takes a look, but there's nothing there. She keeps playing for a few hours and finally decides to enter the tournament with the nickname. At that moment the ball appears rolling on the floor behind her, and when she's about to pick it up, she's startled by a sudden knock on the door. It's the landlord, who is asking for the rent money again. While Hana goes to ask him for more time, the ball floats up and glitches until it disappears. The landlord says Jen promised the money many days ago while Hana thinks it was yesterday, making her realize she's lost track of time. Hana promises the money will come next week and asks about a girl living in the building, but the landlord is already gone. Then Hana returns to the living room and discovers the ball has disappeared. Sometime later, Hana goes through her exercise routine, not noticing the strange ghost appearing in her room. The next time she showers, she finds her mouth bleeding more heavily and suddenly her face becomes monstrous in the mirror, but it turns out to be a nightmare. As she tries to calm down, the ball reappears in the living room. While she notices this, the strange ghost appears behind her and is again not seen. Getting worried, Hana activates her phone with her mind and calls Jen, asking her to come over and apologizing for her behavior. Then Hana puts on her VR set and waves her hand over the ball, causing it to disappear. Doing the same brings it back, and even transforms it into a bird that she picks up. The little bird flies around before returning to the floor and becoming a ball again. When Jen finally comes by, Hana is doing so work on her computer to make it run faster. She wants the hardware to be able to keep up with her new gaming speed and win the tournament, especially since the prize is $250,000. Hana also convinces Jen to bet money on her since her winning is pretty much guaranteed. 6 hours later, the tournament finally starts and Hana destroys every opponent without even trying, causing Jen to win tons of money. Suddenly something appears on the screen, and when Hana takes a closer look, a hand reaches out and tries to grab her, so Hana immediately steps away. The hand quickly disappears and Jen is confused because she didn't see anything. Feeling too anxious, Hana asks Jen to play for her while she takes a break. After taking the headband off, she gets in the bathroom and takes some medicine to stop an incoming breakdown. At that moment she feels her arm itching and checks under her band-aid to discover a simple cut has become a nasty wound. While Hana cries, Jen explains she didn't win the match but Hana still passed to the next round. She also reminds Hana that she'll always be there for her, but Hana stays silent. Once Hana comes out, they play retro video games and she shares the story of the little girl, which Jen finds weird because she doesn't know of any children in the building. Then Hana makes a confession. Her mother was agoraphobic too, so it's always been in her genes. She feels bad for having become like her mother and Jen offers to help her leave, but Hana doesn't dare. After Jen falls asleep, Hana distracts herself by playing Tetris, not noticing the way the walls and objects in her apartment were coming apart in cubes floating around her. The next morning, Jen notices Hana looks tired and Hana isn't even sure if she slept or not. After Jen leaves for work, Hana hears some chatter and discovers a shadow outside the door. Suddenly the little girl speaks and Hana tells her she'll lend her a game, but when she turns around, she discovers the door has been opened. Terrified, Hana gathers her strength and dares to step out on the corridor as she hears the girl giggling. She hesitantly takes another step only to hear her door close behind her, so she desperately runs back and tries to open it. Somehow it's locked and Hana must use her key, but there's also the matter of the security chain. At that moment the lights start flickering and the ghost appears in the corridor screaming like a banshee. A horrified Hana keeps on hitting the door until she can finally burst inside and quickly closes it again before having a breakdown. After calming down, she calls the Omnia company to know if any other testers have had side effects, but they tell her that if the diagnosis she ran were fine then it isn't the device's fault. They still offer to take it back for repair, however Hana needs to win the tournament and decided to keep it. Then Hana keeps on playing and reaches the top 3 in the tournament ranking. After the match, she's so tired that she falls asleep on her chair and the ball falls from her hand. Suddenly the computer shuts down and darkness takes over the apartment. Hana wakes up and looks around, finding her room empty. However, when she turns around, the little girl appears and says we've always been here. At that moment the ghost starts surrounding the girl and screams again, causing the whole room to shake. Hana covers her ears in pain and the noise starts making her float, only to drop her after a few seconds. The computer is on again and both the girl and the ghost have disappeared. Moments later, Jen comes over to watch Hana win the final round and become the tournament champion. Hana is tired and falls asleep on the chair again, but she still has time to hug Jen and celebrate her victory. She has a vision of a bloodstained screwdriver only to wake up and realize it was a dream. Not knowing what parts were real or not, Hana calls Jen's name and gets no answer. Then she looks at the screen and confirms she won the tournament. Suddenly she hears the noise of her shower running, so she rushes to the bathroom only to find it empty. After shutting off the shower, her arm gets itchy again. Hana tries calling Jen and hears the ringtone in her apartment because Jen left the phone there. Her laptop is there too next to a package Hana didn't bring in. Hana's confusion is interrupted when her computer announces the prize money has been sent. Next, Hana asks the AI if the device is playing tricks on her, but the AI assures her that the device only does what her brain wants. While Hana looks at her dad's pictures, the ghost appears near the door but disappears when someone knocks on the door. It's the landlord, who confirms he got the payment. Hana takes the chance to ask about Jen, but the landlord says he hasn't seen her in a while. Then Hana eats the food Jen left ready for her, but as soon as she takes a bite she spits it out because it tastes disgusting. When she takes a closer look she discovers it's full of bugs. Afterward, Hana spends many hours in front of the computer not knowing what else to do. The ghost appears behind her as time passes, but it disappears when Hana moves. Her arm is itching again and she checks the wound, only to discover it's grown into a big disgusting thing. Finally snapping out of it, Hana decides to keep herself busy by playing with the ball while talking about the last year she spent with her mom. She wasn't allowed to go out, but she enjoyed being with her all the time. The ball keeps on bouncing on the wall, but when Hana fails and throws it into the room, something throws it back at her. Sometime later, a new package arrives and Hana grabs it without bothering to sign. Inside she finds the tournament trophy. Then she takes a look at the package on the table and finds a card that says "For when you're ready" from Jen. Hana opens the box and discovers a brand new pair of shoes. As she puts them on, Jen's phone starts ringing with a call from an unknown number, but Hana ignores it. Suddenly the speakers start playing static and the whispers of a woman that start going up in volume until they become painful to hear. At that moment Jen appears behind her and Hana rushes to hug her as the memory of celebrating her win rushed to her mind. Noticing Jen is wet, Hana steps back only to discover a bloodstained screwdriver in her hand and a stab wound in Jen's stomach. Hana rushes to grab a phone to call for help, but when she looks back, Jen has disappeared. Feeling crazy, Hana falls to her knees and screams in frustration, causing the ghost and the little girl to appear for a few seconds. Then Hana realizes the device is using all her trauma to get in her head, so she takes it off. However, the device is still in her head. Hana keeps on trying, but every time she grabs it is just an illusion and the real device is still connected. Terrified, she decides she needs to leave and runs to her room to pack, not seeing the other presents nearby. Then she takes a moment to concentrate and gather her strength to fight her fears, only for a hand to pull at her jacket. Hana turns around and sees a glitching body being dragged into the bathroom, so she rushes to follow it. To her shock, she finds Jen's body rotting in the tub. She even touches it to confirm it's real and it causes her to have a breakdown. Suddenly the room changes and reveals what Hana has refused to see. It's an utter mess. Next, Hana checks the rest of the apartment, finding it in the same condition. It's dirty and messy everywhere, not to mention the rotten food in the kitchen. This makes her realize she's been in denial for weeks without noticing the pass of time. Panicking, Hana finally is desperate enough to leave the apartment and runs through the stairs before her phobia can make her freeze. Eventually she makes it to Jen's apartment, but when she turns on the light, she finds herself back in her own place. Hana watches in shock a vision of herself stabbing Jen, then the other Hana turns around and says "Welcome to the Omnia" with the AI's voice before transforming into a horrible monster. A terrified Hana runs out of the apartment as she sees the monster coming after her. A chase ensues through the stairs and with every step one more monster joins the first one. Eventually Hana makes it to the roof and stops running when she feels the rain falling on her body after years of being inside. It reminds her of better times and helps her calm down. She's finally reached inner peace, so when the monsters also arrive, Hana jumps. As she falls, she watches a glitching bird fly by. The moment her body hits the ground, Hana reappears in her apartment and sees the ghost waiting for her. Realizing that's her mother, Hana begs her to let her leave and asks her why she killed Jen. Suddenly someone knocks on the door, making the ghost disappear. The police are outside the apartment, but Hana is having a breakdown. She doesn't want her mother to hurt anyone else, so she promises to never leave the apartment again. In the end, the police and the paramedics break down the door and find Jen's body, yet Hana doesn't acknowledge them. She just keeps playing Tetris on her Game Boy. When the cops finally arrest her, they remove the device and Hana laughs. However, when they try to drag her out, she panics and screams, making the apartment shake and bringing the officers down as the door is shut. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.